we got.
Sure. Matt, thank you so much for having us, man.
Yeah, how are y'all doing?
Good.
Good,
Good, good,
Good.
man.
good.
Good.
Like
Yeah.
I
Uh,
said, I had an accidental extension to my vacation, so I'm not mad at that.
well, I'm very excited to have you guys here because I know that you guys are pretty, I would say intertwined with Philly sports. It seems like so. It seems like a natural occurrence to get you guys on. Just kick it off. One thing I wanted to ask you guys is, one at a time. I'd love to hear what maybe your favorite album from this year was, since we're all doing our year-end lists and looking back.
Yeah. I
Uh,
can go.
yeah, Eric, want to
I
start?
feel like, yeah, the 2024 album I think I've played the most is that new Clyro album with produced by Leon Michaels. Really good.
Okay, awesome. What is uh, what do you like about that one?
I feel like it's like pop music the way that I would want to hear it. Of
Yeah,
like the production and his stuff. I've been a fan of his for years, man. So just to hear like really good songwriting and a beautiful voice, sort of like in the house constructed by Leon Michaels. All his sort of musical choices to me are like
awesome.
really.
It's kind of cool. It seems like Daptone is like on the way back. Like there's this new artist called named Jalen Naganda, and I caught him at one of the late night shows, and like he straight up sounds like 1968, beautiful, beautiful voice, amazing instrumentation. Like they have seven people on stage, full thing going on. It's really beautiful. So it's like it gives hope for bigger bands like us that it doesn't have to just be from like one person sitting in their room. It's like you could bring a whole big band and it still works.
For
Mhm.
sure. And honestly, like part of the reason too, I was excited to have you guys on is I know that, you know, from your band, I know that your taste is like in all directions. So I'm really excited to hear what recommendations you have, because I'm sure there's plenty that I don't know and that a lot of people would love to hear about. Uh Sam, while we're with you, what's one of your favorite albums of the year?
Dude, I have kind of been back in my hardcore mode these days. And I was really into the new Knock Loose record. But then I recently got into the new Speed album, Only One Mode, and like I think I caught a clip of it like on Instagram of like them doing some crazy like super fat breakdown, and there was like a flute player up there doing it, and I was like, it's so rad. And like so I've been really digging into Only One Mode by Speed, and it's like
Cool.
super cool, super heavy, really dope music. I really like it.
Awesome. Speaking of knocked loose, did you see the whole controversy then about being on
Yes,
Kimmel?
yes, they played Kimmel, and then all these people got really mad
It's
at
so funny.
Kimmel, which honestly is like the best thing that could have happened to them because it's like,
Absolutely.
you know, half the world probably doesn't know who they are. It's funny though because Turnstile did it last year too, and like
Right.
I feel like no one was that mad. But like Knocked Loose is a little different from Turnstile.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. I feel like way more. I'd say they notched the intensity a little higher.
Yeah,
But yeah, just regardless, it's like I don't know. It's late night TV. I don't know. You don't need to be so offended by it. It's just
right.
it is what it is.
Have some fun.
Yeah, totally. Um, and Ali, what's your favorite? And sorry, just to be clear, what
Yeah,
should I?
you can call me Ali. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, cool, cool.
You,
What's one of the albums you've enjoyed this year?
the new Kendrick, hands down.
Oh man, it's
I
fresh,
mean,
but it's a quick riser.
what is there to say? I mean, who we talking about? We talking about Kendrick, man. I mean, the man just never ceases to amaze. So
It's insane.
yeah.
I also feel like the one thing I've noticed with this one is like how it's almost like he's starting to satirize himself a little bit. Like he's starting to like
Mm.
kind of like put layers. Like he knows the perception of him, and like he's just starting to like kind of like play off of that. And even some of those the beats on the production on that record, it's like it's very
Dude,
starting to be different. Like
also,
it's starting to go off that like not like us kind of vibe a little bit,
yo,
and they're really amplifying it.
Jack Antonoff's the producer for most of that record. That's the craziest shit in the
So
world.
strange, but
He
pretty
crushed it.
wild.
He
Mhm.
crushed it.
What's a favorite track you had on there?
Definitely the hard part six.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
Mhm.
was definitely the one that stood out to me for sure.
for sure.
Storytelling. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, good range of picks between three of you. I think some great ads there. One thing we've been doing lately is we've been doing this ongoing playlist. Every guest that comes on, they add a song to it. And I know that there's three of you here, so we could just pick one between three of you, or for each want to suggest one, whichever. But if you have one song to recommend on a playlist, and we'll add it to this ongoing playlist we have. I don't know if you guys have ever.
I would say my vote is for Housequake by
Mm.
Prince. I feel like that's a song that everyone will love, but I don't know what everyone else thinks.
That's a great song. It's got one of my favorite horn lines of all time on that song. So
Yeah.
So that's a good one. I feel like not a lot of people are giving throwback picks, and I feel like it's good to throw on there.
I think one thing that's really interesting about, like, I do a lot of, like, I study a lot of, like, what happens with popular music these days, because I'm obviously trying to make it happen for us. We're all trying to make it happen for us.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed is a lot of the artists that are popping they're all reaching back. Like, everyone is reaching back.
Yeah.
You know, Bruno did it with the Uptown Funk stuff. You know, like I said, Clara's doing it right now with the Daptone stuff. Like, even Billie Eilish has this kind of like slight industrial Trent Reznor thing going on. It's like really cool to see people reach back and be inspired by that stuff. But also, like, I think it's also another thing to be referential, and another thing to like really show your appreciation. And I think like one thing what we're trying to do is like not hide our inspiration, you know, not try to pretend something new, like digging into Prince and Parliament and some of that hardcore aesthetic is like where we come from. So I think like giving the shine to the people who really made it happen is like really important. So
sick. Yeah, definitely. And you know, speaking of, I'd love to know just like kind of, you know, you guys have kind of blown up a little bit in the past few years quite quickly. I'd love to know how you guys kind of like all got to know each other and like how you started playing together.
who wants to tell a story?
yeah, I feel like I say it all the time. You want to take it this time?
I feel like you say it so eloquently. You always say it every time. So
Okay, I'll say I got you. You get the next one. Okay, so I started an event in the end of 2019 into early 2020 called SNACKTIME. It was an event that was going to be highlighting lesser known chefs with lesser featured musicians, like musicians who are maybe like the backing band of a featured artist, like, and it was supposed to be like chefs that were going to be having like maybe they weren't the head chef of the restaurant, maybe they weren't the CDC, maybe they were the CDC or like whatever. So we did this thing where I featured a band, including myself, and we sold it out. It was awesome. Flash forward to March, the second one got canceled because of COVID. So we were all kind of just like sick of doing the. I'm not sure if you're tapped into the scene, but like we all went to music school, so we all kind of like have this long cyclical, like everyone's just doing these online videos of them playing in like big groups, like look, we could play wherever we want. And we all just got sick of it. So outdoor dining restrictions loosened up in Philadelphia, so there's a really big city center called Rittenhouse Square, and they set up outdoor dining, which is kind of this thing that they hadn't done before. Like there was some outdoor dining, but like they shut down the main drag of the city, and it basically made this sort of captive audience for us, and we just started to play out in the streets. And where it started was just like call up some friends, play some covers in the streets, and be like, this is fun. And then that turned from one time a week to two times a week to like at one point during those years we were doing 8-9 gigs a week, from birthday parties to weddings to corporate events to, and we were just doing everything, like everything. We, you know, we'd go from like a bar mitzvah to a funeral. It was crazy. And basically the city started to take notice, and that's kind of how we started to work with bigger clients in the city, like the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society started to contract us to like be the arbiter of entertainment for their events. So we were like booking like huge festival, like multiple week-long festival style bookings with like a bunch of our amazing friends. And the 76ers started to hit us up for halftime. And so basically our first ticketed show was at the Brooklyn Bowl in Philadelphia, and we were able to sell out our first ticketed show. You know, we got to really skip a lot of the grind, which was really amazing. And then from there, it's just people. It's a lot easier when you're succeeding for people to take notice. So it was kind of this amazing lightning in a bottle situation where we were winning, and people were like, "Let's keep you winning." And
Yeah.
it's kind of led us to where we are now. And we just did most of a year with Portugal the Man, playing Red Rocks, playing all the giant amphitheaters, seeing all the country. And this is our first year on tour. So it's just been this like shocking and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and hard and fun and amazing journey to where we are now. And it's led us to now where we're going to be on this show coming up in January with Jason Kelsey live on ESPN for 5 weeks. So it's just been an amazing journey, and it all comes down because we're friends that met playing music in Philadelphia. My first
Yeah.
gig in Philadelphia was with Yusei 13 years ago. So
Awesome.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what's so huge is like you instantly kind of got integrated with the city of Philadelphia like so quickly and almost became like a musical ambassador. Like you actually, I think you said like you're literally like a musical ambassador for the city a little bit.
A lot of people leave Philly. A lot of people like start in Philly and then they like go to New York or
Mhm.
Los Angeles, and they kind of, I'm not saying they all forget about Philadelphia because that would be crazy to say, but a lot of them I think leave Philadelphia and they don't really keep up the mantle. And we really want to bring Philadelphia to everywhere. Like we would not be anywhere without what Philadelphia has given to us. So we're going to continue to show the love of Philadelphia everywhere we go.
Yeah. Awesome. You said he said you played 13 years together. Was that your first, what was your first kind of music group? Was it with Sam?
He said my first music group.
Yeah, like your first like kind of band you played in or kind of
I
first performance, live performance or something like that.
mean, I literally I've been gigging since I've been playing. So started playing when I was 8, 9.
Yeah, yeah.
The summer going into fourth grade year, and literally, actually, my first band that I was in was with the drummer of SNACKTIME, Austin
Sweet.
Marlowe. So like just local cats, local young musicians, and my dad knew one of his friends who had a son that played, who had a couple sons that played music, and we were all in our first band together. This is dating back like '05,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Like I said, I was like 8, 9. So
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. From there,
And
just been surrounded by everyone in the scene, the elders, the young kids my age, my peers, my mentors. Growing up leading into me meeting Sam and in the college scene and the college music scene, and from there leading into meeting Eric and more of the snack time guys. We sort of mesh over time together. And yeah,
sweet.
I'm giving the abbreviated version, but
Yeah, yeah.
I've been in the scene since literally since I started playing music. So,
That's amazing.
One thing
Eric
that's really
was
cool. Oh, sorry, my bad, Matt. You got. I was
no,
just
go
saying one
ahead,
thing that's
Sam.
really cool about this band is that like for the most part, a lot of the guys, we had all maintained careers as freelance musicians. Like
Sure.
I hadn't, I was in a band in college, but like for the most part, where we were doing this all was just like this world where we were all just jumping from different bands to different bands, and just like so you say has played with. So he's being humble, but like you say has played with so many people. You say has played with like Solange, like our drummer Austin was in the Stylistics, like there's tons of like amazing acts that we've all been able to back, and then sort of to join up as a sort of like local musician super group that was able to break out was a really cool and special moment for us.
Yeah, awesome. Is it like a lot of like studio kind of bands or is it like touring bands or both?
Shit, wedding bands, studio bands, big bands, random brass bands, events. It's like as a word, as like a quote unquote like gigging musician, it
Yeah,
was just like whatever you could get.
for sure.
Yeah.
What one thing I was gonna ask too is jumping over to Eric, what you maybe your first band was. What was the vibe?
Man, first band must have been like a band at like a music camp or something. I
Yeah,
feel like um, I'm a child of like parents who were like, "Oh, you interested in something? Just like go for it."
yeah,
So they paid for lessons, and in the summertime we go to music programs and stuff. I'm from Westchester County, New York, so there was like a youth jazz band that we were in for me and my brother were in for years, man. Must have been most of our middle school and high school career playing like there was like one dad who was the dad of one of the sax players in the group who was like the kind of guy that was gonna be like getting on the phone and calling anybody to get us to play a gig. You know what I mean? And
sure.
I feel like as a young person, it's like it's really useful. It's really important to be able to get out in front of people and be like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, what does it mean to perform for people?
Hmm.
And I feel like and it's a skill, you know, and I think it's cool because we've all sort of through interconnected webs or, you know, like sort of figured out a lot about the performance aspect that we sort of apply to the snack time situation. And I feel like there's like a unspoken language that we can all sort of speak, be playing a song and then somebody, Sam or Yasay or Austin was already thinking about the next song we're about to play. So like when it's time to make a transition, from the audience perspective, it seems like how do they do that? But
Hmm.
that's sort of like the rhythm that we find ourselves in over by virtue of kind of playing I don't know how many gigs together, and also like the history of us being music kids since we were like
Yeah,
really young, you know.
that's amazing. Yeah, and being as Sam mentioned earlier, being kind of like connected to Philly so like intensely. And as you mentioned, you got to play 76ers games. I saw that you played Eric Andre's birthday party. It just seems
Yeah,
like so much crazy stuff happened. And specifically, I'm curious, like, I'm sure you guys were growing up as some Sixers fans, basketball fans. What was it like playing at the Sixers game?
man.
Yeah, it felt kind of surreal. Um, we got to represent our hometown, and
Hmm.
that was one of the shining moments for us. I feel where it's just like, yeah, just the trajectory of it all, just getting recognized and noticed by the cats who work for the Sixers, and
Hmm.
really having that platform to just continue our shine, man. Yeah.
They found us in the street, you know? It's like I was able to meet a couple of the guys at one of the games, but the first where they found us when we were playing in the streets. And like, you know, there's sort of this old adage where it's like, play for the people, play for the, dress how you want to dress for the job or whatever, but like
Yeah.
play for the people who you don't know in the room. So it's like we take that same energy of like we were playing in, and we were playing in Philly for 300-400 people just in the middle of the street. But you didn't know who was there. We were just, we were playing for the, the fun dancing, pretty people up front and having a good time. Like we were just like, damn, everyone's fucking lit. But you never know who's watching, and we take that energy to like, every South by Southwest showcase where there's not as many people should be there. Every gig where we're opening up, and you're like, there's not. And it's like, bringing the same energy to every person, not only because what it might get you, but like they deserve it. The people
Hmm.
who are coming deserve the best show possible. So I moved to Philly in 2012, and I was a Knicks fan most of my life. I'm originally from New York, and I was a Knicks fan when they were the worst, like mid aughts, horrible Knicks fan. So I sort of like didn't really care about basketball, and then like the Heat were pretty good in my last years in Florida. I caught both of those finals runs, and then I moved to Philly right during the process. So like I sort of really liked what was going on. It was this kind of weird thing I'd never seen in sports with like the process and Sam Hinkie and all this weird stuff. So I sort of like really liked it. I liked that they were bad, and that's when I started to pay attention. So the Sixers for a long time were the only team that I actually cared about. Like I sort of didn't care
Sure.
about any football teams anymore. So that when we were finally asked, like I went to one of the playoff games, and I think 20 must have been, I don't know, I guess it must have been 21, but they were in the second, it was when they lost to the Hawks in the second round.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, we want to bring you to the Eastern Conference Championship Finals if they win." And just to be recognized with that, with the team rising and our brand rising, was like so crazy. And then we got to play. Our first game was it was the Brooklyn Nets versus the Sixers home opening,
Yeah.
and like we got on the floor, and like the guy was like really stressing to us. He's like, "Listen, you have to be on and off the floor in 10 minutes. Like, don't go a minute over because we'll get fined
Yeah.
$250,000." And we get out there, and we're like chilling, we're looking around, and we turn our head, and then like, hey, was it Kevin Durant? Was Kevin Durant was still on the team at that
Mhm.
point? So we turn our head, and like Kevin Durant's like right next to us, and like I almost like knock him with the tuba, and then they're like, "Get the fuck off the floor! You can't be on there with Kevin Durant." And it was
Oh
like such a
man.
crazy feeling because you're like, once you start to meet those players and be so close to them, you realize really how giant they are. It's just a really, it's one of those experiences that are like kind of unexplainable, but just so amazing. It was awesome.
hmm hmm
Definitely.
Yeah. I feel like just
Uh,
well, like just to one more thing about is like just the walking onto the floor to me is like there's a symbolism to like going to the center of an extremely large and well lit auditorium
mhm.
arena, you know what I mean? But I feel like I don't know. Every time we're waiting in the rows, and then as soon as the buzzer, we like storm the court essentially, you know. But just that moment to me is like I try to every time that we do that, I'm trying to just be like, wow, this
For
is cool.
sure. Yeah, I feel
But
like, your relationship with sports your whole life is like being up at the top, being in
Right?
the stands, and to
Yeah.
be the one who's everyone in the stands is looking at. I'm sure it's like
hmm
just a complete 180 surreal
yeah,
experience.
the funny thing about it is it's so run and gun that like we're doing it with no monitors.
Yeah.
So we're out there just playing into microphones out to like the giant stadium. We can't hear each other, but just because we're like we have this synergy as a band, it doesn't matter. But it's just like it's so funny, man. It's such a unique and crazy gig, and we still do it. We don't do it as much as we used to because things have
Sure.
changed a little bit. But every time we do it, I'm like I still get like a little bit like of a nervousness because I'm like, damn,
Sure.
this is an
It's
iconic building.
it's
hmm
cool because there's not many bands out there that are like in an official sense like integrated with an NBA team. And one of the few other ones I can think of is actually a former guest and someone you toured with is Portugal the Man. Like
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
very synonymous with the Trailblazers, and like I feel like what they are to the Blazers, you guys seem to be for the Sixers, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, totally. I mean, I was just saying I just saw John was at a game at center court the other day. Like he's always at the games. It's so cool.
Mhm.
We try to catch him as much as we can. It's a tough season, but it's still an amazing. We feel like as if we're part of the organization. We walk back there and like
Right.
the dancers know us, the presentation people know us. Like you know, we've been lucky to show up to parties where like Maxi's there, and you're standing next to freaking Maxi or Paul Reed or in the time Ben Simmons, you're just like, man, how did I get here? Like, how did
Yeah, I was gonna say,
a
did you get to have any interactions with any of the players?
couple? Yeah. It's just no. I was personally I was invited to the old photographer's birthday party and just like being up there like playing fucking what's the game with the sandbags and the hole cornhole.
Cornhole.
Just like playing like cornhole next to Paul Reed or like looking at Tyrese Maxey and you're like, damn, like he's a kid and you're like,
Right.
you're 9 years older than him. It's just it's a crazy thing. One time when Ben Simmons was still in town, right after an unfortunate loss, maybe due to his part, we were upstairs at another birthday and there were some players up there and this guy like broke past the security guard line and like came up with a bowling pin because it was his birthday. He's like, sign my fucking bowling pin, you bum. And it was so bizarre. It's like such a classic Philly fan experience because he's like
Yeah.
he's begging him for a fucking autograph, but also like such a dick about it. It was so funny. But those are some funny experiences. Oh,
That's amazing.
you say had the Miami Heat trainer or coach, one of the coaches, yell at us because we were like practicing out in the
Right.
hallway before a playoff game, and I think they thought it was like a psyop or something, or like sound like it was like a sat like because we were like practicing right next to their dressing room, and you say kept playing, and the woman comes out and she's like, "You need to stop." And it was so funny. He talked to Jimmy Butler.
So you're mixing two instances up. That
Am
was
I?
Toronto.
Oh, right.
That was Toronto where one of the staff people was just like, yeah, like you need to stop playing. And we were warming up before the game had started, and it was just like, all right,
I mean, you got to warm up too. They're not the only ones who got to warm
you
up.
know,
That's right. That's right.
in our house,
Yeah.
telling us to be quiet in our house. I had to hold my tongue. And those who know me know I'm very I'm a very passionate guy. I'm a very vocal guy when it comes to you know certain things, most things.
All
So,
right.
but the Jimmy situation, there was another instance we were playing the Heat, and I think one of Jimmy's boys, one of Jimmy's trainers or whoever he was with, I forgot what he was saying. He was just like, yeah, play like take five or something. I don't know what he said. I was just like, yeah, yo, Jimmy, get your boy, man. It's your
Take
boy,
five,
dude.
like Brubeck,
Like Brubeck.
oh man,
Right. You know,
that's hilarious.
but that's the spirit though.
Yeah,
Philly, we like to talk our smack. So
yeah, absolutely.
we love the energy.
That's amazing. Yeah, when I think honestly, I'm trying to remember if it was from the Philly series. That photo of the Heat in the locker room. Do you remember that photo? Like, there's like this photo where they're like lurking in the opponent's locker room. Was that against the Sixers?
Like it
I don't
might have been.
remember that picture.
It's like they're like the whole team is like waiting, like they want to like fight the people in the other team's locker room, and they're just like lurking outside there. It's like one of the greatest
Uh,
like sports photos I've ever seen.
You
I,
gotta send that. I've never seen that.
Yeah, yeah,
it was in Philly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the other thing we did touch on is you guys are gonna kind of be playing for Jason Kelsey's talk show. How does that come about?
man, I, this is funny because I feel like I went to Thanksgiving and this question, I was like probably six different,
Yeah.
and Rhonda, yeah, well, and then Uncle Mark. You know what I mean? But it's a great. I don't mind telling the story at all. But I'll try to tell it, and maybe I'll leave some details out. But we did an event with him in 2022 at the Bach Bar downtown in Philly, and he was just starting his foundation or his nonprofit, uh, which is called Underdog, I believe, right?
Yep.
And cool events. Curiously, this is like one of the four gigs that Sam has ever missed because I think he must have been in Florida or somewhere. And so we had another tuba player there. But it's funny because Jason Kelsey, people have been making the Jason Kelsey, Sam Gellerstein comments forever, and it's definitely true. But that was an awesome event. The group started to play, right? Like wine and cheese or like appetizers and all that. And then all of a sudden you look around and it's like, who's the very fancy dressed large man? Oh, that's AJ Brown. Oh, there's Jalen Hurts. Like as we were playing our set, it's just like more and more Phillies players just like are there. And it's another one of those things. It's like Sam said, it's like, how did we get here, man? Like,
Yeah.
how did this happen? But maybe you could speak on how he found out about it. So it might have just been the same thing. Like somebody told
So
somebody.
how we initially got hit up for that gig was through actually it's an even funnier story. One of the first people who ever hired us for a gig was like this company. Um, the company that hired us was called Witty Gritty, and they're like I think they do a lot of PR, they do a lot of different stuff, but it was for this food bank, and we played this live recording inside of a warehouse like fridge. So they then contracted us again a couple years later for this underdog event. So Jason had heard us then, but it's funny because um, a year later, I was at the W Hotel and we've done some work with them. So occasionally we could like go swimming or whatever. So I was going swimming at the W Hotel, and I go in, I'm like have my towel on, and I see Jason Kelsey. He looks me up and down and goes, "What's up, big dog?" And we never met before because I wasn't on that gig. I'm like,
There's an
and like
unspoken
they
thing.
were just
Yeah.
kind of this thing. And then a year, about six months to a year after that, he had started his show, and we have some mutual friends that had been part of his album, his with some of the other Eagles called what a Christmas what's it called? You say a Christmas
A Philly special?
a Philly
Philly
Special Christmas.
Special?
That's it.
Yep.
So yeah, we have Jordan Mailata is another one of the people. He like was an OG adopter of us. He was like, "You guys got to get on this." So it's like one of those things that like, who knows if Jason or if Jordan Mailata mentioned us? Who knows if it's from Underdog? Who knows if it was like? It's just all these things that, and I think it's just speaking to like, just be outside, be around, be kind, be ready, and the shit happens. It comes to you if you're just
Sure.
like, you just being synonymous with the city is very helpful. And like he really wanted a big brass sound, and like so we got that. We got horns, we got hella guitars, we got hella be one of the best beefiest drummers in the whole city, like synths, we got all that shit. So it's like he knew what was up when he wanted that big sound. And to be recording our own versions of iconic NFL film songs is like,
Yeah.
it's crazy because you watch those as a kid, you watch those highlight videos, and now we're getting to arrange them, and they will likely forever be in the history of NFL films music, like in the in the Rolodex. So it's a pretty sick thing.
I mean, just being the fact that you guys are going to be on like ESPN alone, this is like, wow.
Yeah,
It's just like, wow. So I'm
We're gonna
sure
be on
everybody.
television.
Yeah.
it's funny.
And yeah. No, go ahead.
No, just like I went to a couple of late night shows a couple weeks ago, and I'm just like I always think about like, man, what do you do with your fucking hands? Because like we've been on TV, we've been on big stages, but like the feeling of like national TV cameras in your face is
Mhm.
so different when it's like all about you. It's not obviously all about us, it's about the show, but like there will be moments in which we'll be on camera. And it's like, all right, well,
Yeah.
make sure you're not doing something weird with your eyeball or something. You know what I mean? I'm a twitchy
Just
dude. I feel
staring
like,
into space. Yeah.
yeah,
So is this going to be like a true like late night talk show format? Like are you guys you know the roots to
yeah.
the Fallon?
So we're and you could take this off record. I'm not sure. We're more sort of at liberty. We're super excited to be a part of it.
Sure.
Jason's going to be talking more about what it all is about, but
Cool.
you can I'll give you an answer for the podcast. Um, you can expect lots of dope music, lots of fun guests, lots
Cool.
of funny writing, and it's just going to be a really great time.
That sounds awesome.
How you like that media training?
There you
Yes.
go.
Excellent. Uh, and yeah, that sounds like it'll be a blast. Hopefully, you can keep doing some stuff for the Sixers too, because I'm curious to know how you guys are. I don't mean to bring up a sore subject, but this season has been a little
You know,
interesting.
when
I'm talking
Abraham
about it's
left
great.
the promised land, Abraham had to go through famine and he had to go through, you know what I mean? So, sometimes you
I
got to
feel
go
like I
down.
waited too
Go
long
up.
to have you guys on because I feel like that was like not the most ideal point
But
with the
hold up,
4-win season.
we're gonna get very soon a a tandem of Maxie and McCain, which to me is one of the most exciting potential duos, really, that will be coming out of the league in the next 5 to 10 years. Like I think they're gonna have so much magic. The personalities are like I don't know. I don't remember just watching teams where it's like it's not so aggro. It's like a really fun, smiley way of playing
Right.
basketball, and it's like I scroll the comments and just like the things people say to someone like Jerry McCain just because he's out there having fun, and I just like love him like dropping the 30 piece with the painted nails, dancing on TikTok,
Mhm.
and like it's like fuck you haters, like it's so sick, and
He's
it's really
awesome.
refreshing to see people. It looks like they're having a good time, and it's a tough season so far, but it's a long season, and we're just like I said, we're grateful to be part of the ride.
Yeah, I agree. McCain is so fun to watch. I did notice you left out Joel Embiid in that conversation. Is the Joel Embiid era over?
Who? No, I'm playing.
No.
But it's listen, y'all wasn't there when we had the scrubs back in 2011, 2012, 2013.
Mhm.
We listen, if y'all weren't there then, don't be here now.
I'm a Bulls fan,
Okay.
so I know Derrick Rose's injury
Yeah.
happened against the
Okay.
Sixers.
After D Rose got hurt, they had to rebuild. And
Uh-huh.
you know,
It takes some time, yeah.
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 But I on that subject, going back, I'm curious. Starting with you, you say, growing up, like who is your guy? Like who is your favorite player growing up?
Oh man, Kobe Bean. Kobe Bean and AI. I put them
Yeah,
at the 1-2 equally. Um, the dog mentality, man.
yep.
Just yeah, every time backs against the wall, they come through in the clutch. Every time.
Perfect answer. I mean, there's no debating that answer. It's not even. And what I love too is like, so did you grew up in Philly?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what's awesome is like guys like I mean, obviously AI, but like guys like Kobe like transcend whatever city. Like it doesn't matter
He's
like
from
where you're from.
he's from Philly though.
He actually
He
is from Philly.
he's
Yeah.
from Italy, but he did high school in Philly, and like he's an iconic Philadelphia athlete.
Hell yeah,
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, both top tier, especially of the era. Um, Eric Pierce, who growing, I'm assuming most people growing up in Philly are like AI.
Yeah. I mean, so I actually didn't grow up in Philly. I grew up in New York,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm an '80s baby. So my knowledge of it, like, honestly, man, like as soon as I could walk, a basketball was like my first obsession.
yeah.
We'd come on the trading cards and stuff. So for me, it was Penny Hardaway and Tim Hardaway. Both their skills and crossovers was like so cool as a kid. But then obviously like all the Dream Team storylines and all that
Hmm.
stuff to me was like so cool to just kind of like be 6 years old and be like, I don't know. I feel like when you're that young, you don't necessarily know that history is happening
Sure.
in real time. You're just like looking at it and being like, wow, or like watching the Jordan games on TV, and I look back and I'm like, man, it's cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jordan probably added how much like revenue just to like the NBA was not really the biggest money making machine before Jordan. Like he really truly changed the game on that. It's
For
crazy.
sure. I mean, also too, it's just like creating like sneaker culture and all
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Like transform the game completely. And I feel like like you mentioned AI, like he added a whole different level to the game of like kind of like the way it's commercialized a little bit, and like he was the dude who came out with like all the accessories and shit, and like everyone wanted to have like the headband and the shooting sleeve, and
Right.
uh, yeah, man, I feel like that era is just like that's the era I grew up in. I grew up, you know, I was like a little too late for Jordan. Like I caught the last like 2 years of him, but then I was like, in college when Derrick Rose was kind of getting big. So I felt like the in between that was not a good time to be a Bulls fan, but I still enjoyed, catching Kobe and all that stuff. Sam, what about you growing up? I know
And
you said you
now
were a Knicks
and
guy.
now and now Scottie Pippen's ex-wife is dating Michael Jordan's son.
It's a wild world, and now Scottie Pippen's son is actually kind of balling for Memphis a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
My favorite players growing up, I mean, like I like you said it, I miss the real Patrick Ewing years, but like
Yeah,
retrospectively going back, like I really loved Patrick Ewing's game and I I just I love like it's so different from today's basketball. And I just love like sort of just like the big, slow, controlled interior game. I think it's so magical to watch. But that's all that being said, like my favorite basketball player of all time is Shaquille O'Neal.
yeah,
It's just like I feel like it's hard to say if there's been a more dominant player ever in his prime. And also another person that like he looked like he was having fun. And it was like I love when there's just like an air of like fun to it. And
yeah.
I don't know. I really love Shaquille O'Neal. I think
Just
he's
stuff like the push off, which is just
yeah.
like it's like funny, but it's also like that dude. He just like I'm sorry he kind of disrespected you, but he's just having fun playing basketball. To be honest,
Him jumping in the crowd, him shattering the
yeah.
backboard, like
Oh
so many
Yeah.
iconic moments. And yeah, like Shaq's one of the best.
yeah, and he's still one of the best because we get to see him on inside the
Yeah.
NBA and the TNT
Man,
team.
he's a guy who's like figured out how to just be everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like
he's
I
in
turn
so
on
many
television,
commercials.
so many commercials, and like you go to a supermarket and it's like there's Shaq selling potato chips or
Icy
something.
hot. Yeah,
Dude, I'm
Icy
I'm
hot.
trying to be like, listen, I'm trying to be like Shaq. As long as it aligns with my politics and my morals, I'm trying to be like Shaq.
he's got his hands in a lot of pots. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
he's doing what he's doing. Um, well, cool. So
well,
another one other. Oh, go ahead.
no, 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 no. No, go ahead.
I was going to switch over to kind of this game portion, but if you have something else to add, we can
Well,
get to that first.
I just while we were talking about that, I just resurfaced this Facebook post that Sam made back in May of 2023. I put up a hot take on my Instagram, and I was talking about LeBron, and I said I said LeBron is in the top 10, but I'm saying no, I'm sorry. I said LeBron is definitely top 10, but he's not top five. And then we
Here
Okay.
we
top
go.
top five
Here we
ball
go.
players.
Do you still stand by that?
I have my reservations about LeBron James.
Okay.
But what I'm not saying that he's not one of the greatest. I'm just not saying that he's top five. I have my personal top five players. If we want to get into that
I'm
question,
curious to hear this.
Uh,
my personal top five players that I have seen with my own eyes. And this is not changing. AI, Kobe, KD, Steph, and Shaq. Those are my five.
hard to go wrong. Hard to go.
Kobe,
So
AI, Shaq, KD, Steph.
It's really you're gonna. I, a lot of people here in LeBron among not in that conversation is really interesting,
You
but
know?
man,
I
And
I,
not,
I
and
I
not,
gotta
and
say I completely disagree with it, but I respect it. Because he's saying my personal is, and I think that there's
yes,
something
who I've
important about it.
seen, who I've seen, you know,
like you
I
mean like
caught the
you've
latest
seen in person.
who I've seen on TV for
Okay,
2005, you know, and I've caught the tail end of Jordan, so I really can't
yeah,
say
yeah,
seen prime Jordan.
that's fair.
Would you? Okay, I'll rock with you saying you don't like him top five. Will you at least admit that he's at least one of the top two most influential basketball players of all time?
He is one of the top 10 influential basketball players of all.
Insane, insane.
He's in between 5 and 10. Yeah.
Damn.
Yes, Matt, you heard it here from me first.
All right.
I love the man, and you know, I love the man personally. You know, I would love to man. I would love to have a conversation with him, just being fly on the wall.
I'm also
That
pretty
is
sure
Something
I'm pretty
personal.
sure you said in all seriousness that he could beat LeBron James on one on one. I swear.
Just give me three chances. I'll make. Listen, I will guarantee you, I will get one shot off LeBron. One.
Okay. One shot. Okay. If you get, you're saying you get three chances.
Yes, at
Like
least
you'll score one basket, or you'll be able to
I will
get
score
the ball out of
one.
your hands.
I will score one basket. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe
All right. Set it up, Matt. Come on.
yeah,
Call
maybe
LeBron's people.
when the Lakers
Call
roll
LeBron
through
up.
Philly again.
Tell his people to get in touch with us, and then we'll make that happen.
Yeah, we got to set that up, that one on one.
For
I
sure.
mean, we only got like a year or two left, so.
You
Well,
know, you think he'll
yeah.
make it to Bryce?
Say it again. I was saying Bronny. If we can't get Brian, we'll get Bronny.
Well, I think actually
You might be
you have a better shot
you might be
against
able to
Bronny.
you might be able to score him, Bronny.
For
I
sure.
was saying, do you think he'll make it to Bryce? You think he'll?
What, when Bryce gets to the league?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
long
I
way.
don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
because that
Right.
would have to be not next year, but the year after, right?
Hey, man, LeBron's about to be 40 this month. He's about to be 40.
Yeah, but he's also on. He's on that good shit, bro. He's. They say he spends like over $1 million a year on his like health shit.
That's right.
So it's
Hyperbaric
He
chambers.
trains all the time. Yeah,
it's pretty remarkable, man.
Staying fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll make it to Bryce. I mean, after this season, he'll have passed Vince Carter for the longest player in the league.
Right.
Wow.
He's got that's another record for him.
They're gonna give him. I bet you he'll get like a Vegas franchise or something.
Well, he said he wants to
Yeah, for
own
sure.
part of the
Sure.
Vegas team whenever that happens.
Is that in talks
No.
yet?
No. I mean, I don't. I honestly could see a world where, you know, I actually talked about this last week too, but I feel like there's a world where it lines up that he retires and the Vegas team starts like the next season.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think
Yeah.
too. I think he would though. I think he absolutely would do 1 year as player, coach, owner, or whatever, or at least like play. You know, he wants. I think he wants to have that like what Jordan did with the Wizards, like where he kind of
Mhm.
yeah. So because
He's got to be his own guy, man. He can't
I
be.
know you can't be Mario. You can't be Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, right.
No, wait, was it Mario Lemieux who did that? Yeah,
Hockey's
I
not
think
my
Mario
zone.
did.
Hockey's not my zone.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see it, but you know, if he does 2 more seasons after this season, that's a hell of a career. I mean, I feel like this is the first year I've actually started to notice LeBron declining, like from a
Oh.
production standpoint.
He has more help though. I mean, like
He does. Like Rui's a nice piece for that team, but
Dalton.
Dalton, yeah,
Yo, that dude is crazy. Crazy talent.
Austin Reeves. I mean, he's
He
obviously
has
AD.
He has help.
Yeah.
He does, which is why he can't be top 5. I mean,
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. You took
is that you know him is did him going to the Heat affect your kind of ranking like that?
I'm sorry. It's Scott.
that broke my heart. No, wait a minute, Sam. Now hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Before you say anything. Yes, Matt. Yes. And you know what was funny? That was for me, that summer was the summer before high school for me. And I remember buying the LeBron fives, right? I was so hyped. I was gonna be rocking. I'm just like, yeah, I got the LeBron fives. I had a Cleveland I went to Six Flags. I got a Cleveland Cavaliers basketball that I won at the basketball game. I was hyped. I was rooting for LeBron until he went to Miami. I was just like,
He
well,
broke
dang,
his heart.
what am I going to do with this Cleveland Cavaliers ball now?
Right.
It's
He
useless.
honestly, he so many different cities, people from everywhere were broken up about that because he
Broke it out.
made everyone believe that potentially he would go to them.
Well, that's like the funny
Yeah,
thing
right.
is after that, so right before he went to the Lakers, I think the general consensus was that he was going to go to the Sixers. In the year they picked up Tobias Harris, and the management didn't get them, and then he's like, "All right, well, we gotta get somebody," and they just gave Tobias Harris that giant bag of money for
I mean, if you can't get LeBron, I guess Tobias Harris is like the next closest thing, right?
smartest man in the league, and he's good with his money. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But we should have
absolutely.
kept Jimmy. The Sixers should have kept
Should have
Jimmy.
kept Jimmy.
Oof.
Should have kept Jimmy.
Love Jimmy. Can't help but love Jimmy.
And that's Chicago Bull, a former Chicago Bull right
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jimmy's
Mhm.
been with both of our teams, and he
Have you
was
heard the story? Have you heard the story about like that really classic podcast, the Jeff Teague podcast, where he talks about like he like left the practice and like beat the
Yeah.
shit. He like went on the third squad and beat the shit out of the starters, ran home and did such a good
there's a
story.
lot of funny stories about his time with the Bulls because there was that story, and I forget who was on. It was another podcast episode, but he was telling how he was basically just like straight up like talking shit to Fred Hoiberg, and Hoiberg was like freaking out, like, "Why are you starting so much shit with here?" It's just like he just loves stirring the pot, but like that's kind of why I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, man. So one little last segment I love to do. Um, it's a little more on the silly side, but combining both things, kind of music and basketball. I'd love to hear you guys build a band out
Woo.
of NBA players. And I'm knowing how snack time is. You're quite a large group. I'm curious if that's the route you're gonna go. What's the vibe gonna be? So it's really open.
Matt, you want us to?
Dennis Rodman and a theremin.
It's funny because I had Dennis Rodman playing guitar.
No,
Yeah.
I feel like my real thought is Dennis Rodman as the lead singer. Like that's I thought about that question all day, and I was like, Dennis Rodman could very well just be Prince. You know what I mean?
So there must be something about people from Philly. I think they actually do love Dennis Rodman because I talked recently with another Philly band, Mannequin Pussy.
Oh
They
yeah.
they love Dennis Rodman.
Were you
Like
who was on the podcast?
so I actually went to a music festival in Vegas and I got to interview them there and I talked to the whole band and they were all like, yeah,
Yeah,
they're like, if
Bears
we
are
were a
homies.
band, we would be Dennis Rodman. Or if we
Yeah,
were an NBA player, we'd be Dennis Rodman. Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
Feel
So
like
Matt, do you want?
Curious to hear what you guys think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want us to? Do you want us to build one band as a group?
I built as a collective. Let's hear it.
Okay, cool.
You're each kind of like drafting a player to be in your
do
band.
we feel cool about Dennis Rodman as a singer?
Dennis Rodman's got to be the lead singer.
Yeah.
Um,
He's got a punk rock energy for sure.
Absolutely.
Shaq got to play drums.
Cool.
Beating the shit out of the drums for sure.
I just, big guys, tall guys, they love playing drums or bass. If Shaq can play bass,
Yeah.
that'd be very good.
Yeah.
Can we agree?
Wow.
There's some type of percussion Shaq needs to be on.
I feel like Shaq as a drummer
I
makes
feel like
sense to
I
me.
was gonna say Dikembe Mutombo on percussion, man. Those big
Usually
ass
centers for sure got to be a drummer.
I feel like Mutombo on percussion.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna say I went way too far with this idea and I made like an all male vocal group and a math rock band and a string quartet.
Oh,
But I'm just
man.
gonna pick one of those. I think Jokic should be on the bass, man. Like, who do you want playing a bass? You want somebody who's like knows exactly what to do, is gonna be unselfish when it's time, but like
Yeah.
can like show up and kick ass, but also is just like staying in the pocket forever. And
That's a good
that's
move.
it.
That's a very, very, very good choice.
I
I feel
think
like Jimmy or Anthony on lead. Jimmy Butler or Anthony Edwards on lead guitar.
Yep. Kyrie has to play trumpet.
Ooh, yes.
You didn't think
See
about
that?
that, right? That's right. Kyrie, he's a smooth dude. I feel like he's just the right height to be a trumpet player.
I feel like he's gonna like lead too. He's not gonna be in the background. Like he's like
No,
playing lead parts
Sure.
of the trumpet.
Kyrie
Yeah,
had
Sure.
I was thinking J.R. Smith on synth.
Wow.
I feel
Shirtless.
Wow.
like kind of wild, but also like would bring you some real sauce sometimes. But also like sometimes you'd be like, you gotta stop playing that, don't do that. But also he'd make like the most magical musical moments.
Wow. Interesting.
Draymond has to be on cowbell
Okay.
because
That's all I'll give
because
him.
he's Draymond.
Yeah.
He's a wild boy.
Bro, I was in this, I had a random thought. I was like, who should play trombone? And I was like, Mike Conley. I don't know why.
No,
Oh,
dude.
okay.
No, Chris
Yeah.
Bosh, bro. Chris
Chris
Bosh.
Bosh.
Chris Bosh plays trombone for sure. But Mike Conley on alto sax.
Oh, okay. I had Jared McCain on alto sax. I don't know why. I just feel like I could see him
No,
the way he's
Jared
like,
McCain's coming out dancing, bro. He's the dancer.
right.
He's there just for the vibes.
Just for the
See,
vibe.
but who's the manager of the band?
Ooh, I don't know. That's tough. That's tough.
It's gotta be Phil Jackson.
I mean, yeah.
Gotta be Phil.
I do feel like you guys truly did kind of recreate Snack Time a little bit. If Snack Time was NBA players.
Yep.
Yeah.
Spike has to be the season ticket holder.
That's right.
He's got to be. That's right.
All right.
Oh, man, that's
And
pretty solid.
Can I take 10 seconds and just tell you who my all male vocal group is?
I would love to hear this.
All right. On alto, this is current players. On alto, got Derek White. Okay. Tenor, Kelly Oubre Jr. Okay. Baritone is Giannis. And bass, it's got to be Steven Adams.
Wow.
Not Joel?
I don't know if Joel has that same.
He hasn't been showing up lately. I don't know.
I think also like visually, what a range of players to have in one group together. Like,
Is this like Boys to Men, or is this like a
yeah.
classical group?
Like a barbershop quartet.
No, like both, like modern male vocal group,
Yeah.
sing their favorite love songs.
I like it.
And now I'm curious to know your math rock one too.
Yeah, I want to hear this
All right,
too.
here we go. All right, math rock. We got Brooke Lopez on guitar. All right, Jalen Brunson on keyboards and synth. Jokic on the bass, and Shai Gildas SGA on drums. I think that could be dope.
No vocals.
And emo Jimmy.
No, they're like
Emo Jimmy,
Terramellos.
right.
They're Terramellos. They got no vocals. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a cool band.
Wild time signatures. Yeah. I see that from
Yep,
SGA for
yep.
sure.
Yep.
Matt, you got to come up with a hardcore band on the next episode.
Yeah. Man, I feel like someone back in the day did do a hardcore band and they had Draymond being the vocalist.
Yeah, like Bill Lambier playing bass.
Oh, absolutely. Pick the most aggro people in NBA history.
Charles Oakley on drums.
Just go mic punching people in the crowd.
I was saying you can have Charles Barkley just crowd surfing. I feel like Charles would be a good crowd surfer.
He would be a good time for sure.
Yeah.
I love all of these bands. I want to thank you guys for coming on. This has been a blast talking basketball with you guys.
Dude,
I'm very excited to
I
see.
hope we can catch the game sometime, man.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to see what next year holds with the talk show thing, and I'm excited to hear more from you guys.
Sure.
Thanks again for coming on.
We got lots of new music coming out in the next year. With really dope producers we're working with. We'll be back on tour again. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and it's nice to meet you all out there.
Absolutely. Thanks again for coming on, guys.
Thanks, bro.
You got it. Peace.